Good idea, IOL students. Thank you for joining us on our next session, Interview Tips and Tricks. This is to show the IOL student that IOL is not only interested in the student obtaining their qualification, but is serious that the student finds employment in Namibia, which is the ultimate goal. So if you've watched our last session and you've prepared your CV properly, you should now be shortlisted. That can be quite a nerve-wracking experience, so I will take you through interview tips and tricks. My name is Sven Schultz. I'm a professional CV and interview coach for Namibia. So you got shortlisted and must go for an interview. What's next? Let's start with, why do we have an interview in the first place? I mean, the people already know most of what's on your CV, so why do they want to interview you? Number one, the employer wants to get to know you personally. Same as you would with a first date, the employer wants to get to know you personally. He wants to ask you additional information which is not on your CV. Number three, he wants to see if you will fit into his or her organization. And number four, he wants to see if you are a suitable person for the advertised position by getting to know you a bit better. So, how do you prepare yourself for an interview? Number one, in Namibia we are quite conservative, and regardless of position which you applied for, dress code is very, very important. Just imagine if you were to fly with a plane and the pilot dressed as a clown. Would you fly on that plane? I would certainly not. So, dress code is very important. A good button shirt with long trousers always do the trick. Before you go to the interview, research the company and your interviewers before the time. This will make you more comfortable with the interview itself, and you won't be as nervous when you walk into that interview. Number three, familiarize yourself with your own CV. Nothing for an interviewer is more frustrating than contradicting information when he asks you, where did you work, from what year to what year, the reason why you left the company. So familiarize yourself with the positions you have worked in and the experience you have gained along the way. Prepare yourself for professional questions for the interview. The professional questions are in different forms, depending on position which you applied for. For instance, if you applied for an accounting position, how do you calculate profit? There are many, many professional questions in the professional fields which either you have studied or which you have worked in. So make sure to brush up on your knowledge in your field. Most important at an interview, be at least 10 minutes early for the interview. Familiarize yourself where the interview will be held a day before the time. Be 10 minutes early. Nothing makes as bad of an impression if the candidate comes late to an interview. Dear students, always remember there is no second chance to make a good first impression. And if you are 10 minutes early, you get a bit of time to relax and familiarize yourself with your environment. Common questions asked in an interview to the candidate. The interviewer usually starts off with a question, tell us a bit about yourself. The whole reasoning behind this question is to put the interviewee at ease, because everybody is quite nervous when walking into an interview the first time, which is quite normal. So they want to put you at ease, that you tell them where you come from, what you have done, and what your qualifications are. Of course, don't keep it too long, keep it in a nutshell, and get to know the persons interviewing you. Another common question asked in interviews are, what are your strengths? The reason for that question is your strengths will be good for the position. The interviews will determine what strengths you have and if that will fit into the position which they advertised and the candidate they have in mind. Hand in hand with what are your strengths usually comes what are your weaknesses. Dear students, do not be afraid to tell your weaknesses. Everybody of us has them. This is to show the interviewers if you are honest about yourself and can assess yourself critically and work on your weaknesses to improve them. A common question asked in interviews as well is, tell me about a difficult situation at work and how you dealt with it. What we as recruiters would like to see with that question is, does the person have problem-solving skills, or is he or she a very autocratic or very dictatorship kind of person? And how does that fit in with a position which was advertised? So can you work in a team? Are you rather somebody that works alone? And much of it comes with problem-solving skills. This is why you're being asked that question. Many people tend to ask, why do you want to work here? So there are, of course, a variety of reasons. I want to earn good money, but this is not the answer that the recruiter is looking for. Why do you want to work here really is your chance that you can demonstrate that you researched the company before the time, what the company does, where the company has strengths, where the company has weaknesses, and how you can contribute to the success of that certain company. People also like to ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time from now? This is a difficult question for most candidates, but that question really means, does this candidate in front of us have long-term ambitions? No recruiter wants to hire a person just to rehire again in 6 months because that person left. So the interviewer, the recruiter, wants to see, does that person have long-term ambitions, and especially does that person have long-term ambitions with the company who is interviewing you? Last question usually on an interview is, why should we hire you? Now this really is a chance where you can demonstrate your skill and your dedication for the position that you have applied for. This is really where you can sell yourself to the recruiter to tell them and convince them why you are the best candidate for the position. Do not undermine this question. It's very important. You have achieved your qualification, you have achieved your experience, and now you can tell the person how that qualification and how that experience can make the recruiter or the company who wants to hire you some profit. A question that is mostly asked, sometimes in the first, sometimes in the second interview, is the question of salary. Many people start to sweat when the question of salary comes along. Few of the candidates are afraid that if they name too high of a salary, that the recruiter won't take them. Many candidates are afraid they don't want to undersell themselves with a salary. So honesty really here is the key. Do not be afraid of that question, but prepare yourself for that question. If the position was advertised with a salary scale, you can tell the recruiter that you have applied for the position with a set salary scale in mind. That puts them at ease. You know exactly where you stand, and they know what you are expecting in salary of that position. If no salary was specified, you can be quite honest with the recruiter. Do not play games with the recruiter to see how much you can possibly earn. Be very honest on what your living needs are and what you had in mind with the position advertised. You know how much you have in living costs every month. You know how much money you must earn in the respective towns where you live to buy food, to buy clothing, or to pay school fees. So tell the recruiter, be honest about it, and tell them what you expect in salary. This way, everybody is on the same page, nobody keeps wondering, and you certainly don't have to be afraid of the salary question. Remember, you are in a work to earn a salary. The recruiter must compensate you for the work you are giving him. So salary is the reward which you get. Don't be afraid to ask for salary. At the end of the interview, the recruiter or the interviewees will usually ask if you have any questions for them. Most people say, no, I don't have any questions. This is a common mistake. If you research the company properly, of course, a few questions will come up along the way. Ask the recruiter questions if you are not sure about something in the company. However, keep your questions short and to the point. 3 questions maximum, that you can know more about the company, what the risks, what the shortfalls are in the company, and especially more about the advertised position, what the risks and the shortfalls are in that position. Ask the question where you, as a candidate, should you be successful in the position, as a whole will fit in. This will show the recruiter, again, that you have researched the company and that you have done some thought processes on how you can contribute to that company. It's always a good idea to ask a company about future plans. Are they trying to expand? If yes, in which market? Namibian markets, SADC market, international markets, that you can prepare yourself should you be successful in the position, what lies in store for you. So now the interview is finished, you are quite sweaty and you hope you get the job. But your job is not quite finished yet. What should you do after interview? After you stand up, please have common courtesy and thank the recruiter that you were able to be given this interview, that you had a chance to sell yourself to the potential recruiter. It's always a good sign and good manners to follow up with a thank you email, just to thank the recruiter for their time they have spent with you. It, after all, takes time to interview people, and for the chance you were given to sell your skills and your character to the potential recruiter. You could ask the company when they are planning to make a final decision on the position advertised. That way you know you are not sitting on hot coals when the recruiter will answer you either with a yes or a no if you got that position. So nobody is wondering. You will know exactly when you are to expect an answer from the recruiter. Always remember in your interview that that person who is interviewing you has built the company for many, many years and knows who and what kind of people are working for him already. He wants to see not only if you know your job, but if you will actually fit into his or her company from a character viewpoint. So to sell your character, to sell really who you are, just as important in an interview. Never forget, a recruiter will not hire you because of a pretty face or because you know certain people. A recruiter will hire you for one reason and one reason alone, and that is to make profit, to make that recruiter money. A private company is in business to make a profit. And the question the recruiter is actually asking you is, how can you bring profit into his or her company? What part can you perform to be profitable for that company? In the interview itself, it's quite normal to be nervous. So don't worry if you are nervous, it's quite normal. After all, it's a bunch of faces that you don't know who wants to know everything about your life. So it's quite normal to be nervous. Don't be too afraid when walking into this interview. Again, remember that you do possess certain qualities in form of a degree, a qualification, or experience. You already possess these qualities, otherwise you would not be in the interview. Never doubt yourself and what qualities and what experience you can bring to that certain company. That's very important. Never doubt yourself. If you are confident, if you stand up straight, recruiters will see that. If you are not too afraid to sell your skill set to the recruiter. After all, you can only get two answers from that interview. Either yes, which of course is the ultimate, or no. You can't get any other answer. Yes, you got the job, or you are invited for a second interview. When you get to know that you did not qualify for that position, don't take it too personally. Either there was a better candidate, or there was a personality clash with the team. Myself, I was in many interviews, and I'm very glad that I did not get some of the positions I applied for in my professional career, simply because there was a personality clash between myself and that company, and I would not have been a very happy person should I have been able to perform the said job advertised. Or the experience or qualifications were not suitable for the positions. Never ever doubt yourself. Just go to the next interview and try again and try again. It's nothing personal if a recruiter tells you, sorry, you did not get the position. In our next session, a CV is prepared. Some people do get interviews, some people get shortlisted, but some people are still struggling to find employment in Namibia. So please join us. How do I find employment in Namibia? How do I go about it? There are many modern ways to do it these days. I'm looking forward to having you in our next session. Thank you for your time. Do enjoy the rest of your day. God bless. Goodbye.